Hi, how are you? And welcome back. And this is the business astrology reading. And there's quite a lot to be talking about because it's a very interesting time. So I'm hoping you all had a wonderful couple of weeks with this new moon. It's been quite an interesting new moon. And even though there's been these aspects of it around that it's been a bit at the beginning really unclear for some of us, it's really worked out to be quite a lovely new moon in terms of getting us refocused. Now, the reason I'm referencing the new moon is because we're going to also be having the full moon on the 9th in Virgo, and that's going to be very, very interesting because this new moon that's going to be happening, the full moon that's going to be happening on the 9th is finishing up some of that dreaming and some of that clarification and releasing that we started with the new moon way back at the beginning of the Pisces season. So we have a full moon on the 9th in Virgo. We have also on the 9th, we have Mercury turning direct in Aquarius. So that's really good to have that happening together. Leading up to the 9th, no, on the 4th, we have Mercury retrograde in Aquarius. Mercury enters Aquarius in retrograde and then will stay in Aquarius when it goes direct on the 9th. Now, Aquarius and Mercury are quite good together. The one thing, though, that they do trigger in each other is absolute hard truths. And while hard truths can be enlightening, can be really supportive, and can really help us to build and get a really strong sense of where we are and what we're doing, sometimes they're really hard to hear. And even more importantly, they're really hard to say. Now, what's going to be interesting about these hard truths is we've got Mercury in retrograde. So at the moment, carrying on from that new moon and this whole retrograde period in Pisces, we actually don't have the words yet. We don't have the communication skills to be able to articulate in a way that other people are ready to hear any hard truths that we might have that we need to get across. And likewise, in reverse, we may not have the skills, the communication skills to hear and understand and explore any hard truths that people want to give us. Now, hard truths are okay when we're ready. Hard truths are okay when they come from people we trust and respect. Hard truths are difficult when they come out of left field or they come from someone who we weren't expecting this truth to come from. We are talking about Aquarius, so we can expect these hard truths to come from situations and people that we weren't expecting them to come from. And this is going to make them a little bit unpalatable. This is going to make them easy to be missed. But these hard truths are going to be really, really important. And they're going to be important to get a handle on these new dreams, these new ideas, these new ambitions that we've been musing about, thinking about, and are coming together for us. Because the new moon was very about ideas and potential, but with the lack of Mercury in retrograde, the lack of communication skills, there was a lot of stuff that we weren't able to articulate, and now we're going to be wanting to articulate it, and after the 9th, that's a really good time to be able to articulate. So if you've got some hard conversations to be had, and given the environment that we're currently in with the coronavirus and this whole other level of uncertainty, there's probably going to want to be some hard conversations, and if you don't want to have them, have to be had. After the 9th is a good time to have them. Before then, just start making sure that you know exactly what you want to say, and you've got those compassion elements coming in from Pisces that you can use in your conversation, not just with yourself, but with other people, because these hard truths are really, really important. And they're essential to have them, and they're an essential part of the full moon in Virgo. And in fact, the full moon in Virgo is going to push these hard truths even more. Now, Venus entering Taurus could be making life in the workplace and in the career and business a little bit unpleasant for us, because it's all about possessiveness and getting really possessive about our possessions and about our money. Now, how this is going to impact is, think about this in terms of resources and ideas. So people will be reluctant to be risk. In fact, they'll be very and highly risk adverse. You are going to be risk adverse. But not everyone has the same risk tolerance, and not everyone has the same intolerances for risk in the same areas. But you're going to be risk adverse. The other thing about it is you're going to become very possessive. So it's going to be your idea, issues about copyright. Will I want to share that with someone? Are they going to steal it from me? I mean, already I'm starting, I've got some ideas that I want to take to people in my brain. Oh, but they might do this with them. And it's just, it's, of course they might do this with this. This is what happens in the business world. Everyone takes someone else's idea. We all take someone else's idea. We might think it's ours, might think it's original, but if we're really 100% honest with ourselves, we've been influenced by other people, and we're just morphing other ideas that perhaps we've seen with other people and making them our own. So there's going to be a lot of possessiveness about ideas, resources, and money. That's how we're going to be thinking about that. It's going to become incredibly difficult to get money out of institutions. It's going to be even more difficult to get money out of clients. So we're really going to have to make these connections with people to be able to get the money from people, for people to be safe and feeling safe to spend their money and to spend it with you. And of course, if we're in business, 99.99% of the time, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people to spend money with us. Sorry if the film stops and starts. I'm sure it's just a bit of a hiccup, but it will continue and we'll be okay. All right, so that's some of what we've got. Now, the other thing I would just want to talk to you about with the retrograde, there's going to be at times we're going to be a bit fragmented in terms of our thinking. We're not going to feel like we're all there. That's okay. It's just the retrograde. And there's also being Venus. Venus tends to make things a bit amplified. And we're going to want to be very spontaneous with Venus as well, moving into Taurus, moving into Taurus and being with Aquarius. So there's going to be a lot of spontaneity. I'm just going to warn you that sometimes spontaneity is beautiful, but check carefully that it's resonating deep within you and it's very authentic, because we're going to be also under the influence of spontaneous changes, and also part of Venus and Taurus and Aquarius. So we might just need to be sure that what we're doing is consistent with who we are and how we are, and not just necessarily us going because it feels like it's the right thing to do at the moment, because some of that might be just superficial need to fulfill this Venus energy that's coming through nice and strong. So we're going to become a lot more coherent with our ideas. We're going to be having some great discussions. They will be critique discussions, and they will be quite critical, and that'll be coming from the hard truths. So people will be passionate, but they're also going to be the people questioning, and we're going to be quite critical. So you can see that you might need to be using all of the energy of Pisces to be quite the diplomat, especially if you're hosting the conversation, because there'll be a lot of critique within that conversation. So just be aware that the critique is also coming from a good place. It's coming from the need to make sure everything is locked in nice and solid. Now, just be aware about jealousy. That could also be happening. That was my idea. Why are you doing this? And don't give that person resources. And so some of this is going to bring out those nasty traits that we see sometimes in the work environment, which we all see that sometimes we get caught up in and we don't like. So there could be some bad behavior about allocation of resources, about allocation of time, and about allocation of particularly when it comes to ideas and budgets and those sorts of aspects. So just be careful around that and really dot your I's and cross your T's. The other thing that's going to be happening is, which is kind of nice, is the full moon. The full moon in Virgo is going to be very interesting on the night because it's a super moon. It's also going to be a harvest moon, but we're talking long-term harvest. We're not talking short, quick returns. We are talking long-term strategic planning. But it's ideal to be taking these dreams and these awarenesses and this new direction that we've picked up on with this new moon that we've had in the past, and take that and really work it and concretize it to really put in place the planning around it. Now, this is where the hard truths will be invaluable in terms of sorting out, if you like, the wheat from the chaff, sorting out exactly what we should be going after, what we should be including, and what we need to let go and not work with. And that's what I want you to be really thinking about and working with. And I think that's going to be absolutely fantastic. And I think it's a good thing to be doing. Now, this new moon in Virgo, I want you to think earthiness. We are talking about our physical life. It's very practical. We're going to be very systematic. That's also going to be an important part of it. And it's going to be deep rooted. So this is really going into major aspects of us. 2020 is the builder year. So this is a great year for us to be building and putting in the foundations that are going to carry us through for the next 10 years. This is a 10-year cycle of Jupiter, which is making us want to expand and grow. And this is what this is all about. So take this opportunity and think carefully about it, because it's going to be very important. It has the potential to be very transformative for us as we take this forward. Now, it's also going to have elements of what's going to make us safe, what's going to make us feel safe. And I think that's really interesting given what's happening globally with the coronavirus, and we're not feeling safe, are we? A lot of us. So some of us, our industries have been really hard hit. Some of us, we're going to see those changes in the value of the dollar and all of those aspects, which is going to be quite difficult. It's not going to be difficult if we stay focused on creating value for the people around us. In fact, it's going to create opportunities. Of course, we're going to have to manage our business and our spending and being very careful about this. But this is what this new moon, this full moon is also all about. But there is enormous opportunity if we can create the value that we need to help other people make the decision to work with us. And that's very much, it's about getting a really focused on what we do and what we do well. The other thing that we're going to want to do is be very safe with our emotions. So risk taking is going to be at an all-time minimum. That's not so bad. Just remember there's a difference between low and safe risk taking and absolutely battening down the hatches and staying put and not moving or growing. This is not the time for us to be completely stagnant. We do need to be taking risks, but we're talking calculated risks if we want to build and move and survive into the future in this very changing format, world environment, business environment that we're in. And just be aware that people will be feeling a little bit unfocused and a little bit unsteady, but this new moon should help people feel like they're together. We will have to tolerate imperfections and how we see other people's imperfections and how we see our imperfections. And that's going to be a little bit at odds with our need for security, which is going to come in with this full moon. But it's really essential that we balance this need for security with the realities of the environment that we're currently finding ourselves in. Because the environment we're finding ourselves in, if we're looking for external factors to make us feel secure, there are none. We're going to have to be looking for internal factors to make us feel secure, and looking for our strong inherent relationships with other people to make us feel secure. Because right now, external factors are all making us feel insecure. So we need now to be very conscious of the fact that externally everything is making us feel unsettled, and we need to be strong, and that strength needs to come from inside. It needs to come from our inner strength and our inner sense of self. Excuse me, I've just got a bit of the hiccups there. So the only other thing I'm going to say to you is that we just need to be conscious that there's a flow to things. And sometimes when we want security, we want to take control of things. Taking control of things, imposing control on things is not security. Getting a handle on things, understanding them, setting boundaries, that's security. Imposing false sets of control is fear-based. There's enough of that already. Be very clear about boundaries that were set about financials, about possessions, about where we are, what we do, and how we move forward, and particular boundaries about what we offer to clients and keeping the integrity of that whole, because that's going to be really paramount in going forward and convincing people to work with us. Absolute paramount. If you are offering security through your own credibility and authenticity, that is going to ring the biggest bell with people around you, and they're going to want to work with you because people are looking for security. People are looking for authenticity in this very unstable environment. Okay, so this is a great time to be taking those lofty dreams and plans we had and turning them into real strategic and clear pathways that we know exactly how we want to go and where we want to go. So it's putting in the detail around that. So there is a time of hard truths. There is a time of planning. We're going to be feeling quite possessive about the things that we have and own. We might want to reinforce ourselves and look at our safety. And I think what we need to be clear about with safety is comes from within. Of course, we need money to live on this planet, and we need to make decisions about money because this is the currency that we've chosen to live in, and this is the currency of now. But the most important thing to feeling security is to be secure within yourself and trust your authentic self. And this is really, really important. And this is what's going to be about this full moon. This is what's going to be about this Venus transit. And this is what's going to be about finishing off this retrograde. This really is the lessons from the retrograde, hard truths about our authentic self. Okay, so that's the astrology for business. Thank you for checking in, and I'll do the tarot just after this. Okay, bye-bye.